Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Great. This is great. This is cool. I like this. I went live by accident. You got to see His Lordship practice behind the scenes. I was just practicing. That is crazy. That is crazy. But it's all good. I didn't dox myself. I didn't sell 30 for 25 by accident. You didn't overhear a conversation in a phone call and a deal going down. Worst case scenario, I just showed my natural sexy self, but I did not expose myself. I thought I was recording and practicing, but I was actually live. Now see, that kind of proves that I take this job very serious, and I take what I do very serious. I just don't hit the button and go live. I actually prepare. It's just a one-man crew. Behind me is a sci-fi movie called Space Odyssey 2001. I'm going to be talking about different sci-fi movies from every now and again. And I'm trying something new. I'm using a projector. And film producers use projectors all the time. All the time. In movies, even today. And later on, I might work on some video stuff where I'm using a projector to create an illusion. Now, the tricky part is not to cast a shadow on the wall where the projection is to ruin the illusion or the effect. And also, the projector shouldn't shine on you unless you're doing a James Bond intro. Now actually, I can show the projector on my shield to give that sci-fi look, and that's what I'm going for. I am using a wireless mic. I'm using some special lighting to give it a more sci-fi effect, I guess. But behind me, let me see if I can get out the way a little bit. I don't have much camera time. My camera is operating on battery. Everything else is plugged up to the power system. But behind me is Space Odyssey 2001. I don't know if they're going to pick it up because I've done this before. Even with the audio muted, the sensors catch it and shut the show down. So I am narrating. So hopefully, by me narrating, it shows that I'm using this video footage for teaching purposes. And I'm trying to get my big old head out the way. So I'm leaning back a little bit. Lean back, and do the rock away. So anyway, yeah, His Lordship be experimenting with visuals and stuff, but I consider myself a visual artist. I started out a beat maker, or, I say I started out a musician at 6, but when that hip-hop thing came through, I started beatboxing and rapping and making beats, and then I got bored and kept wanting to learn more and more and more and more and keep learning and learning and learning and learning. And now that you could do Wayne's World from the house, I think this is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Watching Wayne's World skit on Saturday Night Live, I think. So anyway, there's an obelisk now. There was some monkeys, and all of a sudden an obelisk came around, and one of them decided to touch it, and when it touched the obelisk, it hit him with some form of intelligence. Now this movie was produced by Stanley Kubrick, the same producer from The Shining and stuff like that, but this movie came before that. This is from 1968. This is supposed to be America's space program. This movie was based on a book by Arthur C. Clarke, and it's a imposing black structure that provides a connection between the past and the future. And in this enigmatic adaptation of a short story by revered science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke, when Dr. Dave Bowman and the other astronauts are sent on a mysterious mission, their ship computer system, HAL 3000, begins to display increasingly strange behavior, and leading up to the tense showdown between the men and the machine, or man and machine, that results in a mind-bending trek. You see? So, I got the phone up to my face. Let me see if that does anything. Hold on. That adds extra light to my face, so let me see something. I don't like to dox myself. No, it actually adds a nice effect. I like that. Let me see. Nothing. Nothing. Okay. Excellent. Nothing here. So, I guess people will catch the playback. I don't have much battery time on the wireless camera. I'm using the GoPro Max as my main camera to do this broadcast. Shout out to the one person in the crowd. I'm fresh out, so I haven't been going live for a minute, and I only made a couple of videos. But basically, after the monkey touched the obelisk, they learned that they could use a bone as a tool. They could use a bone to dig. They could use the bone to kill animals, and now they went from vegetarians to meat eaters, you see? And then eventually they realized that they could use the bone as a weapon against each other. You see what I'm saying? And based on the book, this is how they gained their intelligence and went from the evolution as a, I guess, like a gorilla monkey to more of a upright walking creature. So he skips all the evolution of man, and when he throws the bone in the air, the monkey, the bone turns into a space station, and we skip all the way to the future, which in those times the future was 2001. And it's amazing because we're living in 2021. This movie was made in 1968, and we went to the moon for the first time in 1969, supposedly. So, like I said, I don't have enough battery power to do this whole movie. We're going to have to do a part 2. Now that we got that part out the way, this movie was a propaganda film, okay, to make people believe that it's possible to go to the moon. After this movie was made, I'm sure NASA didn't have any problems getting funds for their space program. As a matter of fact, I don't think we ever had the budget that NASA had for the space program to go to the moon, the Apollo missions. We didn't have that budget for the space shuttle, I don't think. And well, I don't know, I'm not an expert. But I know that today's space budget for NASA is a fraction of what it used to be, and NASA is a government organization that does not owe the public anything. They do not have to give the public any information. They do not have to share anything with the public, and NASA is not publicly funded. Even though NASA seems like a very public and friendly, friendly public department of the government, people forget that NASA is the government. Matter of fact, we were preconditioned with Star Trek to believe in space travel and space missions and spaceships. And NASA uses the same logo as Star Trek. And even on Star Trek, you had the space logs that Captain Kirk would do. Space log, Captain Kirk, blah, blah, blah. And then the computer would talk to him. So we've been conditioned to be prepared for Siri and other things like that. Now my camera just went out, but I'm gonna reconnect that camera right quick. So hold on tight. It's a one-man crew. I can walk and talk. I'm gonna mute my mic for a second, and I will be right back. Okay. Okay, we're back. And I know that in most of America it's pretty late. I know that it's probably 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning for a lot of people. So it's all good. So now they threw the bone in the space, and now we fast forward to the space station. Now look at this amazing space station from planet Earth. This was a concept in 1968. Now I did not prepare for today's show. I don't have any written notes or anything. This is all off of memory. I'm a little rusty, so let me apologize. If there's some real sci-fi heads that watch this, that's in the house, let me apologize to you right now, because I'm a real sci-fi buff. I love science fiction, but it got to be realistic. It got to be, I don't like a bunch of CGI. I rather have a bunch of stuff left to the imagination. So I like Automata better than I like, what's the other one? I can't think of the other one. It'll come to me. But there was two sci-fi movies that came out the same year. One was like January, February, and the other one was like around the summer or so. But one was way Hollywood with a bunch of CGI and a dance routine. You know what I'm talking about. And then the other one was Automata, starring Antonio Banderas. Okay, one of his best roles. So anyway, I'm standing here because, like I said, I don't want YouTube to flag my channel because of the movie. But look, they're on the plane. There's an ink pen floating in the air. They're on a spaceship on the way to the space station, and that's the stewardess. And look, in 1968, they already had a concept of having movie screens in the headrest. In the headrest, there were movie screens, okay? Stanley Kubrick was a genius. He thought of everything. Even if you didn't like the storyline or whatever, the whole movie as a cinematic masterpiece, it's a cinematic masterpiece regardless of the movie. And it was very convincing. I mean, if they would have told me at that time when I was a child, I wasn't even born, but if they would have told me, if they said this was real, there's no reason not to believe it wasn't real, as far as the space station and everything, and they went to Mars, they went to the moon in the movie. So anyway, they have, this is your regular commercial airline traveling back and forth to the space station for tourism, for businessmen. the only thing that we have today that's equivalent to this is CEOs and rich people and handicapped people trying to prove something to themselves, climbing K2, climbing one of the highest mountains. It costs $60,000 to climb K2. Just in case you die up there, your burial is covered. I hate to say that, but the reason why it costs $60,000 to climb this mountain is because you're going to need people to carry your shit back down the mountain. And I literally mean shit, because you can piss in the snow. Now, there's so much piss in the snow up at the top of K2 that the snow is yellowish up at the top of the mountain. And once you pass a certain point, there's no way you could be rescued because the atmosphere is not thick enough for a helicopter. So a lot of people do die climbing K2. As a matter of fact, the head of Google died in a rare earthquake. Okay, but he died ironically at base camp from an avalanche. Okay, but this space station concept is amazing. We are nowhere near this space station after all these years, after all this design. A child, let's say a 5-year-old, watched this movie, or a 6-year-old. By the time 2000 came, you would have thought he would have been in a college on his way designing that same space station that he saw at age 6. And by 2020, his concept of the space station, or his ideas along in concert with other people, you would have thought by 2020 we would have this space station. Now remember, this is 1968. We passed 2001. We still do not have a space station on this level. Now, what I love about this part is, first of all, we missed the part where they were eating on the plane, and she bought the pilots. Well, they might show that from when they go from the station to the moon. You're going to see the pilots eating special foods. The stewardess is wearing anti-gravity boots. But right now, they're on the space station, and all the luxury hotels have a hotel room on this station. So I think there's about 3 or 4 luxury hotels. Each hotel only has about 2 or 3 rooms. But look at this. This furniture is just now getting into the airports, this type of furniture. I'm paraphrasing, but the Ritz-Carlton and all of that has a room on this ship. And inside your room, you have what we have today is Skype. They didn't have Skype back then, all right? Also, they had IBM tablets. Yeah, they had tablets. And but the way Stanley Kubrick used a projector and stuff like that to create that illusion was amazing. You see? So right now, he's going to make a phone call to his daughter. And it's just like a Skype phone call today. And you know what's amazing? He's been to this station so many times. I guess they want us to believe that, but he's been to this station so many times that there's a beautiful planet outside his window of his hotel room. He is not even looking. He's not even paying attention to the view. The view is routine to him. And that's what I like about this movie. Stanley pays attention to detail. Now, in the movie Aliens, he didn't have nothing to do with that, I don't think, but Yosef Kodo was supposed to be a veteran astronaut, and not only a black man had never been to space per se. Black men have been to space to do spy photos, but they only flew in lower space orbit, and at that time, they didn't consider that outer space, even though the space shuttle never flew higher then those black pilots that were working for the government taking spy photos, as well as testing high flying and high performance secret jets. So anyway, he's making a Skype call right now. He's talking to his daughter on planet Earth in the movie. And there's a part where one person goes jogging inside the space station, and it's amazing how they created that illusion. And you would think if they could create that illusion in 1968, imagine what illusion they can create today. If they want us to think that people went to the moon or people are on the space station right now, they can make us believe that. The urgency for this movie was that we needed to trump the Russians. We needed to outdo the Russians. So one of the things is to have a black astronaut, but unfortunately Kennedy was murdered, and so that was his only ticket to outer space. And when Kennedy was murdered, the black astronaut was kicked out of the program. Basically, he retired. He knew better, because the pilot before him died in an unfortunate accident, which I don't believe was an accident. So we're running low on battery, but I'm just going to continue for a few more minutes. We're going to have to do a part 3. But look, they're chilling. Let me see if I can move out the way somewhere. They're chilling on the space station. And it's very routine. They look very comfortable on this station. They are not worried about anything. They ain't worried about meteors or space debris or anything like that. And then the space station is spinning so they could have gravity inside the station. You see, nobody's floating around. People can walk around comfortably because the space station has created its own center of gravity by constantly being in motion, just like the Earth is in motion. Isn't that amazing? So, yeah, this movie was, even though it's entertaining and it's great science fiction, it's very, very political, because they want the public to get behind a space program for going to the moon. And the next year after this movie was made, we made a attempt to go to the moon. So my camera is out. It hasn't cut off yet, I guess. But the battery is dead, like I predicted. Yeah. So anyway, we got up to this part. There's more to this movie. This was really a test. I'm always doing tests. Don't you hate that? But you gotta test in real time. You gotta test on the job. The only way to test it is in a real life situation where you gotta make it or break it. But I hope that people find this live in the morning when they wake up. And there will be a part 2, because we haven't even got to the political side or the commercial side, because the Apollo mission was more of just a money grab. It had nothing to do with actually going to the moon. It was a great, great, great hustle. They didn't do anything on that level until the Twin Towers. You know what I'm saying? So this movie really convinced us that space travel was possible, and the cinematography and everything was amazing. And NASA did work. They did visit the movie set and talk to the producer, and became pretty buddy with the producer of Space Odyssey. So friendly that Stanley Kubrick worked with NASA for the Apollo 16 mission to make sure that it had a nice look to it, that it looked great to the public, because you got your scientific side, you got your military side, and you got your your political side, but it got to look good on camera. It got a little good. So my theory is that there were three different groups of people for the mission, for the Apollo mission to the moon. The real heroes, I don't believe that is. Well, I guess you could say they all were heroes in their own way because they all had a job to do. But the guys who actually died, those are the heroes also, because the guys who endured the radiation and all of that stuff and the attempt, I'm sure that they didn't last too long. I'm sure that they were young. These guys were probably taken out of prison. They had life sentences, and they were trained to be astronauts, and they sent them on a death mission. And because, believe it or not, you didn't have to be a PhD to be an astronaut. You didn't have to be some scholar. You didn't have to be a meteorologist or a rocket scientist. They didn't even know what a astronaut should be. So they finally settled and chose test pilots because these guys was the most daring and the most gung-ho people on Earth, the airplane test pilots, because every time they survived a flight, they thought they were invincible. So anyway, we're gonna have to do this again. I consider this a successful test, and there's a lot. This is a very long movie, and now I have time to refresh my memory and do some more research on this movie. I kept the volume down on purpose, and I stood in front of the screen. Hopefully the censors won't pick it up, but thank you for hanging out with His Lordship. Yes, His Lordship is back. He's fresh out, and he's always trying to reinvent the wheel. Yes, indeed. So let me walk over to my computer and sign out. It's been real. Keep it 100. And I see you later.